Yeah. In our last session, we got stuck here, right? So we were writing some string example and we are getting an exception, right? So yeah, so let me do a quick recap. What did we do in the last session? So in the last session, we were discussing about Spring Boot MVC security. So there are two sections involved in that, right? So the first part is creating the token and the second part is validating the token. So we completed almost all everything, but we are getting an exception. So what is that exception? You know, that day we are sending the wrong URL. That is what is the exception. So I was sending say hello, but the API we wrote it as hi. So here we wrote hi, but we are sending say hello. That's the reason why the exception is coming in the logs. So today we will quickly test this. It is the same code. So first part is creating the token and the second part is taking the token from the header, right? And if it is starting with the authorization, right? If it is not empty, so just removing the first 7 letters from the token and extracting the username from the token and checking whether the username is null or not. And we are also checking whether security is uh, verified in the security context folder or not, right? So this is what it's going to be managed for a particular execution thread, right? So security context folder is going to be associated with a particular execution thread. So once the security is done, we no need to do any more security further. So that is the reason why we will check whether the authentication is happened or not. If authentication is not happened, so checking whether the JSON token is valid or not. If the JSON token is valid, just setting the authentication true, right? Setting the authentication value in the security context and just enabling the flow. Next filters will be executed. So let's quickly do test this. Let's do a fresh run. Right click, run as Java application. It's 8080 slash create token. So to create token, we need to send username and password, right? Username and password. Do you remember what username and password we gave last time?
User 123.
User 123. Okay. It's a post, right? So let's go to the post request and create token 8080. In the body section, it's a username, user 123 or user. Let's try both. If it is not
User
valid,
123.
mm, so the application is started. Let's send the request. If the username and password is valid, we will get token created. Yes, it's a valid. Okay. So now let's go to the second section. That day we were sending a wrong URL. That's why it is failing. So let's send hi. Let's send authorization headers. In the header authorization, let's send this token. Send it. Okay. So yes, it is working. That day we were just doing say hello. That is what is the problem. Still in mistake. Right? So this is the same exception which is throwing that time, right? It is the same exception. So it is trying to do the check, but this token is invalid and there is some exception is happening. So that is the reason why it's breaking. Okay, so path error is not working. So that's why we are getting send error. Okay, so we should do a valid URL. So after disconnect, I just changed this. Uh, right, without doing any changes, it's working. So if you try to send an invalid token, you will get 403, right? 403 forbidden. If you go to the exceptions, there is a console. I mean, there is an exception in the console saying that JWT signature does not match locally computed signature, right? So whatever the token we are sending, it's not matching with the signature generation part. So it's going to be part of IO JSON web token, so that a library will take care about decrypting and encrypting the string. Okay, so it is just a simple URL issue, nothing else. So whatever we did on last session, if you are using a proper URL to test the application, it will be working. Okay, so this is the first part, and the second part is Anshuman is asking how to get the XML data, right? So instead of JSON, we can say XML. Instead of JSON, if you say XML, um, so automatically it should be converted into XML. So let's try that out. It's a functional, right? So just pass XML. So get, we have overloaded method. So get, we have overloaded method. So in the request predicate section, you can say what media type you wanted, what media type you wanted. So Spring will automatically convert the response into that particular type. Okay. So this is the second one, whatever Anshuman asked. Functional endpoint, how to get XML response back. So you need to specify application XML instead of JSON, then and make sure you have added proper XML annotations on your model class, right? So your response will be converted into an XML and it will be written.
Sunil, I think we need to pass in content type, right? Not an accept.
It's an accept
Okay.
media type XML.
Okay, okay. No, okay. No, but I also tried. I passed in content type, so it worked with this.
Check it out. If it is not working this, then it should be.
Yeah, because I tried in my system, right? I found a solution, but I was trying to pass in accept, it was not working. Once I passed in content type, then it was working.
Let's try that out. So mobile by ID, we are expecting application XML, right? Accept XML. Yeah, it started. I think it's 8080 mobiles. I'm not sure whether we gave any context path or not. Let me check. No context path. So it's a direct mobiles, right? So mobiles slash ID, we should get the response. So we can directly go to browser and say, or else Postman, just say mobiles. Let's not send any authorization. Mobiles slash one. Uh, okay, so I think it's content type we need to send. Mm, okay, import content type we need to do. It's the starting input, right? So let's try the content type. So in the bottom, just say content type. Hold for a moment. The server will be restarted automatically. Okay. Now let's go ahead and send the request. Uh, 404 8080 mobiles slash one. Application slash JSON. Let's change it to high level. Okay. Could not find acceptable representation. HTTP media type not acceptable exception. Oh, I think we need to add some external converter, media converter.
No, Sunil, if you will do only for one ID, right, it will work. But I also tried.
So only one ID we are doing, mobile/1.
Okay, okay.
Context part. B1 nest router we are using, and we are telling convert everything into XML. Get all mobiles. Okay, so let it be. Let's not say anything here. Okay, so let's say the first one is JSON. Okay, so the second one is string predicate is undefined for server. So what is this nest method text? First one is a predicate, second one is a builder consumer control. So nest predicate consumer. So this is what we are using. We need to say what type we want to return. So let's add here. Server started. Send a request. Some JSON, right? So this guy is something old, right? So functional endpoint string ABC functional endpoint. Media type applications XML. Okay, Jackson core. Why do we need to add this? These are XML configuration. Router function. Functional endpoints. So server response content type. While creating the response, are we doing JSON or not? Get all mobiles. Server response dot body. Okay, so request server response. Okay, body this part. Get D2. For example, say hello. Body. This is plain text. So here we are saying content type media type XML. It's trying to convert. So everything is JSON, right? That sets with the so XML file. It sets with exception. Could not find acceptable representation using Spring Boot. Some blah blah blah. You have no public getters for update result. For example, this JSON auto detect getter visibility, mobile.java. Okay, you have public methods, right? ID files, three elements we have. Let's see anything. Mobile slash one. We have zero constructor and argument constructor. Fine. Produces XML account element. Okay, this I will check and let you know. Okay, we will have a break, right? In break, I will check this. What is missing? What is the configuration we added? Let me check. It's a MVC or I think it's MVC only. Web, dev tools, test. Okay, that's it. It's working fine with JSON, right? So it's working fine with JSON, but it is failing with
I tried this in MVC, not in this one.
hmm,
Not in functional. This one, sorry, not in WebFlux. Normal MVC when I tried using that
hmm,
router function.
hmm. So there are multiple router functions. We have one. We started with the separate one. We started with the nested. So let's try with the separate.
Yeah, try without nested one, just single one.
Let's try without nested. So get all mobiles. I think we have nothing. If there is just mobiles, then it should go to all mobiles. If it is mobiles slash ID, It should go to this, right? So dot, so content type, media type dot XML, application XML. Body is get get mobile by ID, right? Get mobile by ID. Okay, we need to write some code here, right? So we need to write some code. We should get it from the request, right? So let's take it from the request. We need to take the this is going to be dot, but before that we need to get the request dot path variable, right? So mobile service starting here. Let's go on. So let's oh, it's not. So let's start this. Started. Let's send now. Three counts of illegal annotations. Okay. Let's put it at getter level. So we put it at property level, right? So just change that. Hold a moment. It should work with the nested also, right? It should work with the nested. So it's a direct router. It is working. While generating the response type, we are doing it, right? So while generating the generating the response type, there it is. Yeah, while generating the response type, we are saying content type XML. Let's do the same for route, nested route. Let's do the same for nested route. Scroll down. While constructing server response, let's say content type is XML. Okay, let's say content type is XML. And here, in the above also, let's say the same thing. I'm just doubt about it. So next, do we need to say content type? Next, do we need to say content type?
Sunil, I think what the problem is, this get all mobiles, right? It is not compatible with XML type because they are right and they are not having any parent root.
No, we have just now it worked, right? Just now we saw the response, right?
No, it will be only for one, right? Okay, you are trying with only one, right? Okay, I thought you are trying to do get all mobiles with XML response.
Uh, it's a with the plain router function it is working. Direct router function it is working.
Okay. Nested, it's not.
Nested, it is throwing some exception. So if I see nested alone, we are getting this exception. Nested, there is some problem. I think nested router, it may not be working directly. For nested, how to do, we need to check. Okay, so direct router, it is working fine. For direct router, it is working fine. While constructing the response, we can say JSON instead of JSON, we can say XML, then it will work fine. But when it is nested router. So scroll down. So route path get. Yeah, here we can say while constructing the response, we can say server response dot content type XML. It is working fine, but nested router it is giving the trouble. Yeah, when it is nested router, so the first one is JSON, second one is some response, right? Server request from request header build. Get. This we need to see. Handler function, filtering handler functions. Nested route. We need to see. This all these examples is here we have only JSON, no XML. Okay, so for nested it is not working. If it is a direct route, it is working fine. So it should work for nested also, but there must be some change we need to do. Okay, if it is a direct route, it is working fine. So while constructing the response, we are saying XML, it's fine. It is working as expected. But when it is a nested route, here by keeping an XML thing, it's failing. Okay. So just keeping an XML thing, it's failing. Let's try to change this outside of JSON and inside XML. No. So no, it is not working. So nested route, we are not able to return XML. JSON is working fine.
Sunil, can you just comment this get all mobiles one line number 65 and try just something. Yeah, comment this and try.
That won't be the problem. Okay, let's try that. Okay, comment that. Wait for a moment. Postman. So that is not the problem. Okay. So here, I think XML we need to configure something different for nested route, only for nested. So if it is a direct route, there won't be any problem. It is working. Right?
Okay,
If it is a direct route, it is working fine. I think for nested route alone, XML we need to do some setup. Okay.
we will see. I will try.
So this one is directly working. So here you can say XML, then it's fine. If you say XML here, it is working as expected. So just go ahead and do send. Yeah, so it's working fine. There is no problem. Only problem with the nested route. Okay, I will also check how to do for nested route. For route, it is direct. So here we can say content type and XML. While constructing the server response, we can say content type XML. We will get it. We will get XML response. Okay. Yeah. So for nested route, how to do? I will check that. Okay. So these two we would like to check, right? One is the issue what we faced in the last session. Excuse me. It was a URL problem. It was URL problem. If you are passing URL, then there is no issue. It is working fine as expected. Okay. Yes. But anyway, today's session is about unit testing and integration testing. Right. It is very important. Every Java developer must unit test their code. Right. So this is how the test environments usually look like in our organization, in our company. Right. So in developer machine, we will write our unit test cases. Right. So whatever the code you write, it must be unit tested, and we will push the code into Git or GitHub. So there are so many flavors are there, right? GitHub, Bitbucket, GitLab. So you will push into any one of the repository, and Jenkins server will run, and it creates a jar file or var file, and it will deploy it in the TIT environment. So that is what is the development environment. So there, all the developers changes will be integrated. So whatever the testing we are doing in the in the DIT environment is called integration testing. So if integration testing looks good, then the code will be promoted to next level called QA or SIT, right? So where the QA abbreviation is quality assurance, or SIT system integration testing, right? So where the actual testers will test the code. Actual testers will test the code. If the testers have tested the code and certified the code, then the code will be promoted to the next level. That might be like pre-production environment, where we will do acceptance testing, like performance, how the responses are doing, and how the like there are some crucial test scenarios. We will do it in the pre-production, and if the pre-production testing is success, then the code will be deployed in the production. So this is what is the template usually, but some of the companies may have a different architecture. So some companies may have pre-production and some companies may not have. And some companies may have a different environments, right? So production also, like it's not like a direct production. They will put it in blue green architecture, and it, it's like may not be the same, but whatever I'm just showing here, it's a generalized concept. So unit testing, DIT, integration testing, and SIT, right? QE or QE. So till that point of time, all the companies will have, most of the companies will have the same architecture. Yes. So what we should do as a developer when we write the code, okay? You must write unit test cases, right? So let's try to understand what is meant to be a unit test. Okay, so a unit testing is nothing but the piece of code whatever you write. For example, if you are writing a simple code like this, int sum, and you are taking two parameters. Okay, you are taking two parameters. Let's say int a comma int b. So you should test this method, right? You should test this method by passing different arguments, right? By passing different arguments. So if you pass 0, 0, what is the expected output? If you pass one negative value, one positive value, if you pass both positive, what will happen, right? So if you pass null, what will happen? We have auto boxing and unboxing, so you can pass null, right? What will happen? So like this, you have to test your piece of code, right? It's just a piece of code, whatever you write, you must test it by passing different inputs, right? So that is what is unit testing is meant to be. It is purely related to the code, whatever we write, how it's going to be behaved, right? How it's going to behave when we pass different arguments. So that is what is unit testing meant to. So you don't need to worry what is the prior class is going to give what response, and you don't worry about JSON response. You don't worry about DB calls, right? So you should focus only on testing this particular method. So you pass some input, what is going to be the expected output, right? So like that, you need to write couple of test cases. For example, if you pass 0, 0, that 0, 0 as input, so the expected output should be 0. If you pass 2, 3, right? So the expected output is 5. Okay. If you pass -4, 2, then the expected output is -2, right? So like this you will write couple of test cases, right? That is what is unit testing meant to be. Unit testing will always focus on a particular code snippet, on a particular course, okay? And your unit testing must run all the time. Okay, so you should not expect a database to be there. You should not expect a server to be there. You should not expect some, if you are making some third-party call from your method, you should not expect that the third-party service should be available. No. If it is a pure unit testing code, it should run all the time without any issues, right? Without any dependencies, the code should always run. Okay, we will check how to do. For example, if you are making a DB call, then how can we avoid the DB call? How can we overcome that problem, right? So this is what is unit testing meant to be. We will focus on a particular method, whatever we write, right? So particular method, whatever we write, and that particular method is how it's going to behave when we pass different inputs, right? So that is what is unit testing is meant to be. So now let's go to the slide, right? So you write a separate test class, right? So you write a separate test class. So for example, if you write a class like public int calculator, right? So for example, if you write a class like this, public class calculator, then it has a method, right? For example, inside this, if you write a method, so in public int sum, and if you are taking two parameters, int a comma int b, and if you are summing, if you are doing sum of these two, right? If you are doing sum of these two, then okay, so how can we test this? For example, this is what is a native Java, right? Pure native Java. You can write daily test cases for any code. It can be a Spring application, and it can be a pure Java application. Still, you can write. There is no problem. Okay. So you're gonna do a plus b, return a plus b. Then, if you would like to test this class, and if you would like to test that method, there are some naming standards we have. Okay, so there are some naming standards we have. So the first thing is your test class should have a name like this, right? Public class calculator test. Calculator. It sounds like we are testing calculator.java, right? So which is going to sound like we are going to test calculator Java. So this is naming convention. So this is the best practice anyone can easily understand. We are going to test a Java file called calculator, right? A Java file called calculator. So inside this, you need to write method. For example, if you are testing some method, right? So you should write a method which is a public. Return type should be void. Return type should be void. Test followed by the method name. Test followed by the method name. So by looking into this code, we can easily understand. Okay, we are okay. Ignore about this section. Okay, focus on only on the second scenario. Right? Focus only on the second case. Line number 17. Right, from line number 17. So by looking into this code, anyone can say, okay, we are testing calculator.java, and we are testing a sum method inside calculator. Right, so this is what is a simple standard, right? So the class name must end with test, and the method name should start with test. That should start with test, and you can give some description what you are testing, right? You are testing. So when both parameters are zero, right? So this is what we are doing. Test sum when both parameters are zero. Then what you can do, you can call that calculator, right? So calculator sum, right? You can create object for calculator. Okay, dot sum, and you can pass 0, comma 0, and you can expect what is the output you are expecting. So you can just say what is the expected output. Okay. So yes, so this is how we usually do it. And one more thing comes from J3 onwards. Okay, so we need to annotate the method with egg test. Okay, we need to annotate a method with egg test. So JUnit will consider automatically this is a test, right? JUnit will consider automatically this is one test case. This is one test case, and make sure every method should asset something, right? So asset is nothing but some condition we are going to check, right? So you call calculator sum. Okay, you call calculator sum. For example, if you are expecting some value, right? You are expecting some value. Then you can say asset equals. Okay. So first one is the expected value 0, and comma actual value sum, right? So sum. I'm expecting some value to be 0, right? So you should accept it. Right? If it is matching, then the test case will be considered as passed. If it is not matching, then the test case will be considered as fail, right? Then the test case will be considered as fail. Okay. So this is how we usually write a native Java JUnit test, right? So this is how we usually write a native Java JUnit test case. Nothing related to Spring I'm talking. This is what is a native without any Spring. A simple thing, right? So let's quickly do this. So let's go to our workspace. Let's quickly create a simple Java project. New other Java project. J JDK demo. We are going to use JDK 1.8. Next, yeah, the source code will be kept inside SRC, okay, and the JDK code will be put inside. Okay, or else let's create a simple Maven project, right? So let's create a simple Maven project. It will be good. So let's delete this Java file. File new simple Maven project, right? Other Maven project. Next, so let's do org.apache.maven. org.apache.maven, and we can say we need a simple project, right? Let's select architect simple. Next, yeah, let's give the project name as JUnit package. This will take some time to. Uh, who is the Venugopalachari? Hello. Okay, fine. So yeah, so it's created, right? So let's close all the remaining projects. Let's close all the remaining projects. Let's close country service also. Close this project. Okay. So let's quickly copy paste our class, the calculator, blah blah blah, right? So let's quickly copy paste that class, public class. That's the same code. There is no change. So let's quickly your package name our org. Let's do org. Simple Java class, right? A very simple Java class, right? Java class, right? There is nothing complicated here. Save this file. Yes. So in our Maven project, all the test cases should be written inside SRC test Java, right? SRC test Java. Let's try to create the same folder structure, right? So let's try to create the same folder structure. So on right click on the SRC test Java, right? I'm doing here SRC test Java, SRC test Java. Right click, new class, fine, let it be class. So let's give the package name as for the SRC, what is in generic, and class name calculator. So this is the test class. Package name space without, that's why it's going there. Okay. So let's quickly correct the base class package name also. There's some type of mistake. Let's fix it. Okay. Yes. So now let's write a couple of test cases. Now let's write a couple of test cases. Right? Public void test sum. So let's create object for calculator. Okay, calculator equals to new calculator. So let's pass in, yeah, sum equals to sum and pass some 5 comma 5 commas. So when we pass 5 comma 5, we will get expected output is 10. So let's assert that, right? So we are expecting that, right? So let's do assert. Assert JUnit framework dot assert equals, okay, assert equals int expected 10 and actual is right, expected 10, the actual is somewhere. Okay, so let's annotate this with a test. Let's do one thing. I think JUnit is not added. Let's add the JUnit like that. Go to properties. Mm, Java Builder. Let's do this. Okay. Right click, run that, run configurations. Let's select JUnit, right? Let's select JUnit plus. Let's select JUnit 4. Okay, let's select JUnit 4. Apply. Okay. So let's select apply and close. Now let's come back and do edit test. Go to form the text method. JUnit 3.8.1 is added. So JUnit 3.8.1 is added. Why the test is not coming? Change the version. I think let's change it to um, let's change it to 4.1. So let's change it to 4.1. Save this. Save this. Let's come back and do get tests, right? So from JUnit 4 onwards, this annotation is available. Okay, I think this class is deprecated. Let's go for another class. Okay, I think there must be some other class which should have been available. So, org JUnit asset dot asset equals. Okay, let's do asset equals and give okay, asset equals. This is duplicated. Asset equals float expected float double. Here. So many classes are duplicated. Okay. So asset equals long expected. Let's use this. So not equals not asset equals. Maybe it got changed or not. Expected actual delta. So this thing we have expected. Okay, some message, right? Okay, okay, let it be duplicated. No problem. If not matching, then we will get not matched. Okay, we will use 5, not 4. The sum is 10. The actual also 10. Okay, the sum is 10. The actual also 10. Now let's run this code and see. So what we are doing exactly here, we have created an object for calculator and we are passing 5 and we are checking whether that method will return 10 or not, right? So that method will return 10 or not, we are checking. So let's run this code. Run as JUnit, right click, run as JUnit. You see, it got passed, right? It got passed. For example, you are expecting a different value, right? 9 you are expecting, but the actual value is 10. Then while running this code, you see that you will get an error, right? Test case got failed. So in the console, it will give a clear information saying that expected 9, but was 10, right? So expecting 9, but the actual value is 10. Then you could ask me, what is the benefit if you are passing the input and you are telling you are expecting this, right? So it is a simple method, so that is the reason why you don't see the benefit. But when it is actually a business logic method, you really see the benefit. Like how, if, I mean, JUnit test cases, right? Unit testing will help us to identify if is there any issues in it in your code, right? Um, for example, you are expecting some a different value, but if it is not identified, then you can identify here itself, right? So like this, we need to write a couple of test cases. It is not suggestible to write one or two test cases. You need to write as many as possible, right? So you need to say test sum, okay, test sum when both arguments or zero. You need to write a clear different definition what you exactly are testing and pass 0 and 0, right? So when you pass 0 and 0, the output also 0, right? When you pass 0 and 0, the output also 0. Let's run this, right? So to run a particular test case, you need to select that and run as unit test, right? So you need to select right click, run as unit test. So that particular method will be running. So that particular method will be running. So if you focus on class level, if you put the mouse on class and do it run as JUnit test case, then it will run all the test cases which are present in the class, right? So it ran to one got failed, one got failed and one got success, right? One got failed and one got success. For example, if you change this 9 to 10, right? If you change this 9 to 10 and running this application, what will happen? You get two test cases will be passed, right? Run as JUnit test. Run as JUnit test case. If you expand, then it shows both the test cases are passed and each test case how much time it took. That also will be displayed. Right? That also will be displayed. And look at this code. There is something common and which we are doing a duplication, right? So there is something common which we are doing duplication, which is this part, right? So calculator equal to new calculator. Right. So if you would like to do something, right? For example, there is a common code. Instead of duplicating each test case, what you can do, there are a couple of methods we have. There are a couple of methods we have. For example, at before, right? So this at before will be executed. This method, okay? It's an annotation. Should be kept it on a method. Okay, that will be executed for every test case, right? So just before executing every test case, so this will be, so you can do calculator equals to null, and inside this method you can call calc equals to new calculator, just to control shift down, and we don't need to define this code, right? So this code can be copied. So it's one place you can define, right? In one place you can define, and automatically, so this will be executed every just before executing every test, right? Just before this will be called true time. Just run this code, you get you will see that just before every test. Okay. Like how we have just before, we also have like after. Okay. After, so this will be called after every test case execution. So here you can keep clean up code, right? So clean up code. So here what I wanted to clean, I wanted to set this back to null. Right? Make the object eligible for the garbage collector. So just do calc equals to null, right? Just do calc equals to null, so that object is eligible for garbage collector. So no memory needs to be. Okay. Yes. Okay. So let's add this is out after will be executed after every test case. Okay. So after every test case, let's do a sysout here. So let's give like just a method name, right? Just a method name. So this sysout will be executed for every test case execution, and before will be executed just before executing, and after will be executed just after. Okay. So test sum and the before after. Okay, so again test sum before after, right? So that's how it's before test sum after, before actual method after, right? So before test sum after, before actual business testing method and after. Okay, so that's how we will write the JUnit test cases. And it's also possible, like instead of there is a common thing, instead of executing for every method, you can do it class level also, right? So if it is like a static block, kind of static block, so that will be executed only once, called before class. Okay, before class will be executed only once for all the methods, all the test cases, right? So class, before class will be executed only once, and we have after class that also will be executed. So public void before all JUnits, right? So this will be executed only once before all JUnit methods. So this is going to be executed only once, just before executing all the JUnit. And it's a kind of static one. It's just like a static class level, right? So something like that. We also have it after class. Okay, it after is after all method JUnit execution. Right? So after all JUnit methods, so this is going to be so the before class will be executed only once for particular test class, but before will execute it for every test method, right? So every test method. And after class will be executed only once for a test class, but whereas after will be executed for every test, right? So let's run this code. So all these are JUnit fundamentals, right? So all these are JUnit fundamentals. There is nothing complicated here. There is nothing complicated here. What is the problem? A method before call should be static. Okay, so this is like static, right? So we need to make these two static. You see that corresponding statement will be printed, right? So before will be executed and after will be executed after, but some asynchronous, due to asynchronous, the statements are printing in a different order. But this is for sure as per the documentation also. So after class will be executed after executing all the JUnit test cases, whereas the before class will be executed just before executing all the JUnit. So it's only one time, right? Static is only one time, but whereas the before and after will be executed for every JUnit test. Okay. So there is a famous word in the IT industry, right? So there is a different model of developing the code called TDD. Okay. So have you guys ever heard this word TDD?
Test driven development.
Yes, exactly. So test the TDD, right? So test driven development. Yes, TDD. So here what we will do, first we will write the JUnit test cases. Okay. First we will write the JUnit test cases, then later we will do the development, right? So first we will write the JUnit test cases. Then we should write a code to pass all the JUnit test cases. So this is what is called test-driven development. So you have to start with the JUnit test cases first, right? You should know what you should want to achieve. So first you write all the JUnit test cases. Then you will go and write the code which will pass, which will make to pass all the JUnit test cases. Okay, so that is one of the pattern, but some of the companies will follow and some of the companies will not follow. Okay, so if it is a TDD development approach, then you should know how to write good JUnit test case, right? So you should be expertise in the JUnit test case. But this is one of the model. This is one of the style people will write the code. But this is some of the companies may not be following, like where the time is concerned and where the things have to be delivered fast. So like most of the companies these days are not writing any JUnit test cases, but it is not a good practice. It is recommended to write at least some code to test your code whatever you are writing. Right. So that is what is JUnit test code. JUnit testing. So we will. It's a simple code. You see, you just write 3 lines of code here, but go to test case. How many lines you are writing? It is 2 methods, right? So you can also do one more negatives. You can pass what will happen. One negative, one positive. Right. First argument is a negative. Second argument is positive. First argument is positive. Second argument is negative. Like that, you can pass write couple of test cases to test your code. Okay, so unit testing is strictly it's like a pure kind of strict. We will test only a particular method. We will test only a particular method, and we pass some of the inputs and we expect some output. Right? We pass some input and we expect some output. So our method should execute and finally should give the expected output. If the output is not expected, then our test case will be failed, right? So our test case will be failed. So this is what is meant to be unit testing. Okay, we will focus only on a particular method. The scope of the unit testing must be, we will focus only on a particular method. Okay, so this is fine. A simple Java class which takes two input parameters. Things looks good. Things look easy. But when we go to the real-time application, Spring application, things may not be easy like this, right? So, for example, let's go to mobile service application. Let's go to mobile service application. Mobile service application has a service method, I believe, right? So let's go to service. Let's write some test case for this service, right? So let's write some test case for one of the service. For example, get mobile by ID. For example, get mobile by ID. There it is. Yes. Let's test this method. Okay, so we will pass the mobile ID, but internally line number 104, what it is expecting? It is expecting some database, right? So it is expecting some database call. I already told unit testing is meant to be no dependency with the database, right? No dependency with the database. Then if you say like that, if no dependency with the database, then if you don't create the database, we will get some exception there, right? So we'll get some exception in the line number 104. So how we gonna fix that, right? How we gonna fix that? So there are a couple of tools, libraries are available with respect to JUnit test cases. Okay, so let's see what are all those, right? So let's go to the documentation. So unit testing is part of Spring framework. Okay, so unit testing is a part of Spring framework. Let's go to Spring framework 11. So there is a dedicated section called testing. There is a dedicated section called testing. So let's go to the testing. Let's go to the testing. So Spring Boot also talks about testing, but it's a very high level information. Just not even a single page. It's just few lines of statement saying that okay, this is what is testing, like that we will talk. Let's go to Spring Boot features. So let's compare Spring Framework testing library and Spring Boot testing. So there is a dedicated section here also called testing. So down, somewhere you see testing here. It's testing. Okay. So 26, right? 26 is the testing. Let's scroll down. How much information they provided? Let's see, right? So it's very high level, very high level. They will talk about it. Okay, but we need to stop here, right? So test scope dependencies. So JUnit 5, that is what we see till now. It is JUnit 4. We are going to use JUnit 5, next version, latest version of JUnit. So it has, you're going to have that it before class, it after class, it before, it after. Okay, it test like that. There are a couple of annotations you will get it from the JUnit language. But to test the Spring Boot or microservice or Spring application, okay, especially Spring Boot application. Let me check user recovery status. Okay. Yeah. So to test a Spring Boot application, JUnit alone may not be sufficient, right? By using only JUnit 5 library, we may not be able to test Spring Boot application. So we need all these tools, right? We need all these libraries. For example, Mockito, right? For example, Mockito. So we use Mockito a lot. We use Mockito a lot in Spring Boot unit testing or in Spring Boot integration testing. Okay, we use Mockito a lot in Spring Boot unit testing or in Spring Boot integration. So let's focus on unit testing now. So how the Mockito is going to be used, right? So this is completely a third-party library, Mockito.org or Mockito.org. So it's completely a third-party library. Spring is going to support this library. Right? Spring has an inbuilt support for this Mockito. It's really such a powerful library for unit test or else JUnit test, right? So what exactly Mockito, how it's going to be useful while testing our code. Let's go to mobile service. Let's come to that line number 102. For example, you are testing get mobile by ID and you are passing some. So it expects some database call, right? It expects some database call. So that dependency can be mocked. Line number 104, right? So some repository we have. So this repository we can mock. I will tell you what is a mocking and how you're gonna do it, right? But for a theoretical point of view, So we can think like, so mock is going to be used. This Mockito library will be useful to mock these kind of scenarios where you have database dependency. You can mock the database. Where you have third-party library called dependency, yes, you can mock the third-party library. So you no need to worry about how the database is going to be configured while writing unit test case. You should not worry. Right? You're not supposed to worry what is the database and what is the data, it's Oracle or whatever it is. You don't focus on it. You focus only on this particular method. For example, in this method, you are passing some integer and you mock mobile repository. I will let you know how to do that in next couple of minutes. For example, if database is giving mobile ID, what is the expected output? That is what you have to test. Okay. For example, if database is giving null, what is the expected output? If mobile is giving, if database is giving some invalid data, what is the expected output? So that is what is actual JUnit testing is meant, right? Unit testing. So how we going to test this get mobile ID? For example, we have dependency with the database. Fine. If database is giving valid data, what is expected output? That is one test. If database is giving null, what is the expected output? If database is giving some invalid data, what is the expected output, right? So this is how we will unit test our code, right? So this method is going to have a couple of test cases based on the data which database gives, right? Which database gives. So it can happen. So database can give null response, database can give a valid response, database can give a invalid response. Yes, these are all possibility scenarios, right? So we will test all these scenarios, and with Mockito, we don't have any database to test this. We don't use any database. We will mock. Okay, we will mock by writing the code. It will be more clear. Okay. So for unit testing, so we use these two features, JUnit 5, JUnit 5 and Mockito. JUnit 5 and Mockito, these two we will use it. The remaining things we will use it for integration. But anyway, we will also use Spring Test. Okay, we will also use Spring Test or Spring Boot test. Mostly it is a Spring Boot test because our application is Spring Boot test. So right now we are going to use three libraries. Okay, for unit testing, Spring Boot unit testing, we will use three libraries. First one is JUnit 5. Okay, so this is the latest. And second one is Spring Boot test. Okay, because we are going to test the Spring Boot application, so that is the reason why we will use that. And the third one is Mock. Okay. By looking into the code, you can easily understand. So by looking into the code, you can easily understand how we will use, right? How we will use them, you can easily understand. So these three libraries are minimum to minimum required to test JUnit Spring Boot application, right? To write the unit test cases for Spring Boot application, these three libraries are minimum: JUnit 5, Spring Test, and Mock. And one good thing with the Spring Boot application, all these three are part of Spring Boot library. You don't need to add any extra jar, nothing required. So it's already there in this starter, Spring Boot starter test. Just add the starter, automatically all these libraries are going to be available. You don't need to do anything, start using them directly. Right? We can start using them directly. We don't need to do anything, but we don't use all libraries. Minimum basic, you will start with JUnit 5, Spring Test, and Mock. Okay. So this is what we should understand, because this concept is very important. There are some problems actually. There are some version conflicts we have with respect to this unit test case. Okay. So the latest combination is JUnit 5, whatever I mentioned here. JUnit 5, Spring Boot test, Mockito. Okay. So in some of the companies, what they will do, they will use some word arrows. JUnit 4. Okay, JUnit 4. And Spring, not Spring Boot test, they use Spring test. They use Spring test. Okay. And Mockito is same. So these two, with respect to these two, so there are some version conflicts we have, right? There are some version conflicts we have. So JUnit 5 is the latest, which has support for Java 8 Lambda expression support. Okay, so Java 8 Lambda expression support. Again JUnit is a different library. Okay, so JUnit is a different library. If you just go to Google, The latest is JUnit 5. The latest is JUnit 5. So JUnit 5 has very good support for Java 8 Lambda expression, right? Java 8 Lambda expression. So some of the companies, I mean, some of the projects they will use JUnit 4, but it is a bit legacy, right? It's a bit legacy. So right now the latest version is 5.6.2 Jupyter, right? So latest version is 5.2, 6.2 Jupyter. So we also have vintage some 5.6.2, but we will use Jupyter version, Jupyter 5.6.2. So this is what is the latest version. So that is what we are going to use, right? So that is what we are going to use. So now let's go to mobile service. Okay, let's go to mobile service. Let's see. Let's write one JUnit test case and see. Right, unit testing only for one method. And show a couple of methods, 2 or 3. So let's see what are the possibilities we have and how we going to do it. For example, let's test this public method. So we should test only public methods. Public method called method name is get mobile by ID, which takes integer parameter. Okay, let's go to SRC test Java. SRC test Java. So there is an automatically generated file. Let it be there. Don't touch that. Let's create one more class. New class. Let's keep this in the service package, and the class name should be mobile service. Mobile service. Okay. Now, what should we do? We should annotate this class with a Spring Boot test. This is the latest. At Spring Boot test, not with a Spring Boot. It should be at Spring Boot test. Okay. Yes. So, what this annotation will do, this annotation will help us a lot to test the Spring Boot application, right? So, we need to start a server. We need to do so many things, right? So we need to start a server, we need to do so many things for Spring Boot application, loading application of properties file. Like this, there is a huge configuration we have for Spring Boot. So all that configuration will automatically taken care when we annotate our class with X Spring Boot test annotation. Okay, so there are so many things are going to be happen. There are so many things are going to be happen, but we don't need all those features, right? So just for unit testing, I'm talking with respect to unit testing, we don't need a server. I want to test a method, single method in this class. So what should we do? Be very careful with these guys. Okay, whenever you are writing unit test cases, okay, so we no need to bring the entire server up. For example, if I'm just doing a Spring Boot test and writing public void, okay, public void say hello, test say hello, this dummy test case. Okay, and to run this dummy test case also, as we are annotated with set Spring Boot, okay, let's use Jupyter API. Let's use Jupyter API. Yes, just say system.out.println hi. This is invalid, just dummy test case. Okay? Hi, something like that. If I am running this JUnit, let's focus on the console. What are all the things are going to be happening? Okay, so that entire application is going to be started, right? So it's going to start the Spring Boot application. It connects to the database, right? So there is huge thing is going to be working in the background. So it's connecting to the database. So for unit testing, we don't need all this, right? So for unit testing, we should not do all these things, right? So we need this for integration testing, not for unit testing. So be very careful with this. Anyway, this will be shutting down. The server will be shutting down. But unwantedly, we are starting the server, stopping the server, memory wasted, right? So, yeah. So our test case is ran fine. It ran and it printed, and finally the server got shut down. But unit test cases, let's not do that. Okay. For unit test cases, for example, if you would like to test a particular class, don't use Spring Boot test. Okay, it's improper way of doing things. So what should we do? You want to test a particular class, so you should say what class you want to test, right? So we would like to test mobile service, so just give that service class, right? So Spring won't start the server. Spring will create only this particular service class, right? So Spring will create object only for this particular. So last time what happened when we don't say classes mobile service, you see database connection, blah, 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 printed here, right? So database connection, Hibernate, everything is printed here. So for unit test cases, it is invalid. Let's not do that. So just say what particular class you would like to test and rerun this test case. You see the difference. Okay, this time it won't connect it to the database. It won't start the server. It simply create an object for that particular service and it will be shutting down automatically. Okay, so fine. Yeah, it is expecting some dependency. That's why it got failed, right? So service class has some dependency. Okay, service class has mobile repository, so that's why it got failed. I will let you know how to manage that particular part. Unsatisfied dependency exception. Yeah, unsatisfied dependency expressed through field mobile repository. So dependency missing, right? So dependency missing. So that is the reason why it thrown an exception. Okay. So for temporary purpose to show what is the difference with Spring Boot Spring Boot directly Spring Boot classes, I will mark this required false just for now temporary purpose. Okay. So let's mark this as false. So not required. Don't let's not make it as a required attribute. Let it be non-required dependency. So let's rerun that test case. You see, it won't be connected to the database now. Okay, it won't be connected to the database. So let's make it bigger, little bigger. So you see, this time it won't print. See, no database details, right? It simply started boot application, and it runs that particular chain, right? It just ran that particular chain. Okay, so this is how. Be very careful, guys, whenever you are writing unit test cases in Spring Boot 2 version, Spring Boot 2.2 with the Jupyter 5. So this is what we need to follow, right? This is what we need to follow. But anyway, let's go back, remove this required first. Okay, so we need a dependency, right? So we need a dependency. So we need a repository which connects to the database, right? We need a repository which connects to the database. So I told already repository, I mean, database dependency, let's not do that for unit test, right? Don't create any database. Let's not do that. Okay. So what should we do to, to avoid this problem, database dependency problem? We should use mocking, right? We should use Mockito. Let's create a dummy repository object, right? So let's create a dummy repository object by using mock bean annotation. It's a dummy. It's a dummy. It will not have anything. Okay, it's a not service, right? Mobile repository. Yes. So it's going to be mobile repository. So now we will not get that required annotation. So dummy object we are creating. Dummy Spring Bean object we are creating. So nothing can be happening. For example, if you call find ID, find all, right, you will get nothing. It's a just empty array will be returned, right? You call find, for example, it's just a dummy object, right? You call find all, it's returns a empty array list, right? So just do the sysout, you see what is going to be happening. So what is that mock bean is going to return when you call any method on the bean? It's written nothing. A simple empty array list object will be written. So let's run this code. So now still it's auto void required only. We don't get that exception now because we are creating a mocking bean and it will not return any data. It will not return any data. So if it is not returning data, how can we handle that? I will let you know. We have to use Mockito API. Now let's use Mockito API. Okay. So by using that Mockito API, we will test our application, right? Mockito API will test our application. So the dependencies, okay, we need to test mobile service.java. It has a dependency. It has a dependency called repository, right? So that repository, if it is actual real repository object, what is the difference? If it is a real repository object, it has to be connected to the database, but we don't want to do that, right? For unit test cases, we're not supposed to have database dependency, service dependency, when it is not called unit test. Unit testing mean to be It meant to be, it's pure independent, right? It's pure independent. It's not supposed to have any dependency with anything. So that is the reason why we are using Mockito, right? Mockito, right? Now let's test our mobile service, right? So let's test our mobile service, get mobile by ID. Where is that method? Get mobile by ID. Just copy paste this. Okay. Yes. Okay. Method JUnit method should always return void, and it's like test get mobile by ID. Let's JUnit method should not take any input parameters. We need to send some data, and we should expect some response, right? Yes. Now we need mobile service, right? Yes, it's created by Spring, so you can happily auto-ware it. Now you can happily auto-ware that mobile service. Yes. Okay. Yes, mobile service. Now when you call mobile service dot mobile repository, this mock bean will be written. So it internally does that auto-write, right? This mock bean will be internally injected to mobile service. So here you will get that mock bean, right? When you call mobile repository, you will get that mock bean. So it will automatically auto-write that mock bean. Yes. So Spring boot testing takes care of that part. Spring boot testing takes care of that part. Yes. For example, if you call mobile service dot get mobile by ID and passing some number 1 2 3 4, whatever it is, right? Whatever it is. So you go and see now mobile repository dot find by ID returns nothing, right? Returns nothing, empty, optional. So nothing can be happened, right? So what should we do? We should use Mockito API to return some data. How exactly it's going to be happen? Now let's go inside this mobile service that get mobile ID. So we are calling mobile repository dot find by ID and some integer we are going to pass. Yes. So you are going to call this method. You are going to call this method. So when you call that method, what is the expected thing has to be happen? For example, so you return some mobile, you pass some mobile ID. Okay, we pass some mobile ID and we are expecting some valid data. Let's test a valid scenario first. Okay. So you should use when from this is from Mockito, when someone calls mobile repository dot find by ID and passing some number like 1. Okay, when somebody calling this method by passing an input 1, then return. Okay, then return what we should return. We should return some object, right? So we should return some optional object. So let's return optional. Let's optional of type mobile DTO. Okay, of type mobile DTO. So DB data, yes, optional mobile DTO, and return some valid data, right? So let's create optional dot off, right? Optional off. Let's create one object of mobile DTO. Okay, so mobile DTO dot builder dot let's pass some ID1 for now, right? ID1 and some other data if you would like to give some name, right? Name, some like mi, something like that. Okay, dot build. Okay, dot build. Yes. Now let's return this. Okay, so when someone passing 1, right? So when someone passing 1 and when then return this mobile data, right? Mobile DTO. Oh, I think we need to pass mobile, not mobile. So database call, right? Mobile. So it should be mobile, and yeah. So builder also mobile, right? Mobile dot builder. Yes. So we are going to return this optional of mobile. Optional of mobile. Now let's test it, right? Now let's test. Okay. So this is what is mocking. Okay. This is what is mocking. I hope you are getting confused. If we are itself, we are saying, okay, you call this and I return this and what we are testing, right? Mocking data. So lots of confusion here, right? So we are ourselves, we are saying, I call this, I expect this, and again, why I'm writing JUnit test cases, I will tell you what part we are exactly testing now. Okay, let me complete this coding. I will tell you what part we are exactly testing. So what is this method will return? This method will return mobile DTO, right? Yes, let's expect mobile DTO, right? Let's expect mobile DTO. So mobile DTO equals to mobile DTO. Yes. Okay. And do some asset, right? So let's do some asset. Let's use, I think, assertions, I believe. We should use Jupyter assertions. Yes, assertions dot asset equals, asset equals. So let's expect ID1. Okay, let's expect mobile DTO ID1. Okay. Yes. There are so many questions, right? There are so many questions with respect to this unit test. What exactly we are testing? We are passing one, we are passing a mobile name as MI, and we are again expecting the same thing. Then what exactly we are testing here? Right? There are so many questions with respect to this unit testing. I can understand your scenario. Okay, so I hope at least this point, till this point it is clear, right? Mocking bean and auto white, till this point it is clear. Only the confusion with respect to this section. Okay, yes. Now I will ask a couple of questions. You answer those questions, then you will automatically understand what exactly we are testing. Okay, yes. Now let me get into this mobile service that get mobile ID. Yes. How many lines of codes? How many lines of code is there in this method?
7.
4 lines. Okay. So how many lines we are mocking?
Can you go?
Only one line, right?
Only one, yeah.
So we are mocking only line number 104. Okay. Why we are mocking? Because we have database dependence. So if you do -1, 4 minus 1, so you are testing 3 lines of code, right? You are testing 3 lines of code. So what exactly you are testing? Whether this entire, the remaining functionality is working fine or not, right? What exactly we are testing? Okay, if database, from database we are getting some valid data. Yes, from database, if I pass 1, let's assume that we are getting some valid data. What is the remaining code will behave? How the remaining code is going to be behave, right? That is what we are testing, right? What we are testing? Yes, database thing we are mocking. Yes, line number 104 we are marking, that we know. What we are testing? We are testing the remaining lines of code, right? So if I get a valid data from the database, whether the remaining code will work as expected or not, will I get a valid mobile DTO object or not, and whether I will get the ID whatever we are getting from the database or not, whether I will get the name whatever I am getting from the database or not. Like that, we need to write couple of assertions, right? So this is what is the database call. Yes, in that case, if the database is giving a valid response, my method will return a valid mobile DTO or not. So that is what we are testing here. What we are testing? We are testing if the database is giving a valid data, the remaining lines of code will work or not, properly will work or not. That is what we are testing. And we are also expecting some data, right? Some output. Okay. So if I get a valid ID and name from the database, should I get the same ID and name from this method also, the return type of this method? So that is what we are testing. That is what is exact unit test case. Okay. So you should say test get mobile ID when DB, right? When DB returns valid data. What we are testing here? When DB returns a valid data, the remaining code in that method will work as expected or not, right? So let's do the testing. Okay, let's run this code and see whether it is working or not, right? So whether it's working or not, let's test that. So this is one scenario. One scenario is if database is giving valid data, it is working as expected or not, right? So that is one scenario we are testing. Yeah, it got failed, right? So there is some null pointer exception. So even though the database is giving valid data ID and name, right? So there is some null pointer exception. So our code is not working as expected, right? Let's go to that line and see. So status should not be null from the database, right? So status should not be null. So our code is not working if database giving only id and name, right? So let's add status. Let's add status also. Status, and status we are expecting some enum, right? So I think it's available, I believe. I remember that is what is the value we gave, available, right? So status should be status, I think it's a enum. um, Status dot available. Okay, status dot available. Yeah, let's do the enum. So valid data means ID we should get, name we should get, status also. That's how we wrote the code. So LOB also there might be some chance, right? Null pointer exception. So let's send that LOB also. Let's expect LOB also from the database. Okay, so LOB dot some type. Okay, some type. Yes. So the remaining country code we are not checking anything. Publication date also should not be null. Publication date also should not be null, and price we are not checking anything. So let's add publication date also. Okay, let's pass publication date also. So this is a valid scenario. So we need to pass all the data. So I think it's a local date of now. Okay. Yes. So let's return all these parameters, right? So then only we should say database, from database we are getting valid data. If you get valid data from the database, which means you get ID, you get name, you get status, you get LOB, you get the publication date. So still let's see whether we are getting the expected output or not, right? So if you are getting a valid data from the database, our remaining code will work or not. Let's test that, right? Right click, run as JUnit test case. So we don't have any dependency, no database dependency, nothing, right? So we are testing the remaining lines of code is working or not. Okay, price. Okay, price also some part of valid data. Let's add.
Sunil, I have a question.
Hmm.
Yeah, here we are using JUnit 5, right?
Hmm.
I think by default, like it is a POM, it is showing 4.1. So, like how we changed it to 5.0?
No. While importing, you should select appropriate version. Jupyter means 5.
It's a Jupyter API session. Okay.
Jupyter means 5. So if you are not choosing Jupyter, and if you are going for something else, so it also shows some other library. Okay. So 4.12 where it's showing in libraries, Maven dependencies.
Yeah, in POM. Yeah, in POM it is showing.
In the Maven dependencies, what JUnit version we are using? I think it's a 5 only. So the default is 5. Jupyter 5. Jupyter, right? JUnit 5. We have 5 only.
Okay.
Bring boot to the latest version JUnit only available. It's 5.5.2.
Okay. So I'm actually checking the effective POM is there, no? There I'm checking the JUnit version.
Okay, but you have to check here Maven dependencies what version is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And yeah, we have a clear naming convention. Jupyter means 5. Okay, JUnit Jupyter means 5.
Okay.
Now let's test it whether the remaining lines of code is working or not. If you get a valid data from the data. Okay, let's test this. Okay, this should pass this time. Yes, right. So if you are getting a valid data, mobile data, then it will be converted into mobile DTO, right? So the remaining 3 lines are going to be working. So now let's do one thing. If you get a null response, if your database is returning a null response, what will happen, right? Null response. So let's do test. Let's write another test case when DB returns null. So anyway, it won't be null. So optional, right? Empty optional we should return, right? Empty optional. So it's going to be when you call this, then return empty optional, right? So then return empty optional. So you can say optional dot dot. Okay, so let's remove this. dot empty. If database is not returning any data, what will happen? If your optional is empty, let's go and see what is the expected output. uh, we should get an exception, I believe, right? We should get an exception. If data is not present, we should get an exception, right? So this is what is expected. We should get an exception. If database is not returning any data, our method should get throw mobile not found exception. So we should write the code, JUnit code. You should also expect an exception, right? You should also expect when there is no data from the database, okay, what is going to happen? Our method is going to throw some exception. Our method is going to throw some exception. So how can we expect that exception? I will let you know. Okay, asset, I think assertions, yes, dot asset throwable, something should be there. Asset true, asset throws, yes, asset throws, yes. So what method we have to use? This one, expected type, what exception type you are expecting, and the second argument should be your uh, method call, right? Method call. So when there is no data from the database, so we are expecting mobile not found exception, mobile not found exception, and the second argument should be execution of the method call. So you should do something like this. Okay, so it's going to be something like this. Okay, so when I call this method, if database is not returning any data, I'm expecting mobile not found exception. So what I'm doing here totally, so I'm calling this method by passing some valid input parameter, but internally database will not return anything. So my method will throw method not found exception. So we are doing some behavioral test, right? So I call this, and internally database will not return anything, but still, okay, that time my method will throw exception. If there is no data on the database, I should get mobile not found exception. Right? So we should test this, right? So let's do run as JUnit test case. So this is what is our second, right? If data is not available in the database, so what will happen, right? Yes, the second one, it got failed, right? Fast. So if the database is not returning data, we are going to get mobile not found exception. So if you would like to check the status, what status code, right? We are returning status code 1001, and the message is this. So whether the status is matching or not, yes, that particular part also we can check. So this will return that mobile not found exception. You can catch that exception, and you can check, you can assert it, right? You can assert now. So assertions dot assert equal, okay, assert equal, the code is 1001. So what code? Exception dot get code, right? Error code or something. Exception dot get error code. So error code should be 1001. If database is not returning data, my method should throw mobile not found exception that should have error code 1001, and you can also check the message, right? You can also check the message. The message is, it's going to return a message called mobile not found exception and mobile ID, whatever we are passing as input, right? So this one, let's remove this double quotes. Yes, 1, mobile ID 1. So this should be our exception message. Right? Yes, let's expect this, right? So this is what is a perfect unit testing. Okay, this is what is a perfect unit testing. So
how it will come to line number 60 if 58 got failed?
huh?
No, it's line number 60, right?
Huh.
How it will reach here once line number 58 will get failed, or how?
No, it internally execute this method, mobile service dot get mobile ID.
Okay.
Okay, so whenever it executes this method, we will get an exception, right? Mobile not found exception. So that will be holded here. So this
Okay.
is what is JUnit API. This is JUnit API. Okay.
Okay.
So it executes this method and it throws that exception. So that method will throw an exception. That exception, like we are expecting that, right? So we are not expecting printing the stack trace in the console. So we know when there is no data from the database, we will get mobile not found exception. It's a valid scenario. So we are telling, okay, I will get an exception when I call this method of type mobile not found exception. So not only just type, I can also check what is the error code, what is the message also. I can also check what is the error code and what is the message, right? So actually what will happen, most of the people will write one assertion in each test case. Let's group it. There is no problem, right? You can test it now. It will test all three assertions. One is expecting throws equals, right? Expecting throws, and it is also expecting code. It is also expecting message. For example, if you expect a different code, this test case will fail. Okay. This is what is a perfect unit testing with respect to Spring Boot. Okay, so expecting 1001, expected 1002, but actually is 1001, right? So actual error code is 1000. So you must be very careful. So you know what is going to happen. That is what we are checking, right? So you are expecting, okay, there is no data from the database. You are expecting some exception and error code is this and error message is this. Okay. So we tested two scenarios. When there is a valid data, when there is no data. When there is a valid data and when there is no data. Like this, you need to test a couple of other scenarios. For example, if status is null, okay, you expect null pointer exception, right? If the status is null, we expect null pointer exception because status is mandatory. LOB is null, yes, we expect null pointer exception. Publication date is null, yes, we expect null pointer exception. Like that, you need to write couple of test cases, unit test cases, right? So unit testing is nothing but testing a method, a particular method with different scenarios. Okay, unit testing is nothing but, so when database is returning a valid data, what will happen? When database is returning no data, what will happen? Like that, we need to write couple of scenarios. Okay, couple of scenarios. So this is how we do write unit test cases. So right, we should follow some of the standards. So the first one is, let's not put a direct Spring Boot test. So it is not recommended because for every time you run that JUnit test case, it will start the server, stop the server, right? It consumes a lot of memory. So let's not waste the memory. Focus only on a particular class which you would like to test. And if is there any dependency we have, like any dependency, let's mock it. Okay. Yes. Next, you should write the code when someone calls some method with some data. What is the expected return, right? Expected return type. Okay, so that is, you should consider returning valid data, invalid data, null data. So what your method is going to behave, right? How your method is going to behave. So you need to write a couple of test cases. Okay, once you are done with all those things, what you can do, you can check how much code coverage is happening in your application, right? How much code coverage is happening. For example, let's go to this particular class. Let's go to this particular class and see how much code coverage is happened on this class, right? Right click on this class and go to coverage and see coverage configurations. Okay, JUnit 5 coverage, right? It will show what are all the methods are covered and how much percentage is completed in this code, right? So it's going to run the test case and show you what is the total coverage of that particular application. It's going to run all the test cases. There is one new tab will be opened called code coverage. You see, in this method, we covered this line and this line. This line is not covered. Okay, so this line is covered partially and this line is completely not covered. And this method is not fully not covered. Anyway, private methods, we don't need to worry. So at least public methods. So this we don't have any code coverage. If you just expand, the total code coverage of mobile service is just 3.2%. Right? We wrote only methods, JUnit test cases. So whatever is green in color, so that is covered. Whatever is red in color, that is not covered. Okay, so as per the standard, unit testing must be done like 90% of the code, right? For 90% of the code, we should do unit testing. So your code must be covered with each and every line, right? Each and every line must be covered in the unit test code, unit testing. So you can expect less errors in the production. What is the benefit? You can expect less numbers. If any issue in the code, that will be identified in your JUnit testing only. That will be identified in your JUnit testing. So it is, I mean, you cannot guarantee 100%, right? Some functionality wise you cannot guarantee, but at least the code wise, null pointer exceptions and some unexpected behavior can be identified using unit testing only. Okay, using unit testing only. So in microservices, as per the standard, in microservices, as per the standard, we should have minimum 90% of the code coverage, right? Especially unit testing, especially unit testing. Okay, so this is how we do write the unit test cases, right? This is how we do write the unit test cases. We can close this, fine. Okay, so you should focus on only one particular method. Okay, so you should focus only on one particular method, and you should consider, you should think like, okay, so what will happen this data is comes, what will happen this data is not coming, and you should check the code coverage, whether we are covering fully in the particular class, right? So like that we should write our JUnit test cases. Okay, this is one sample. Whatever I showed, it's just a sample. Okay, so this is one part. Writing unit test cases is one part. We are going to use three libraries. Okay, we are going to use three libraries: Spring Boot and Spring Boot Test and JUnit and Mockito. So in some of the older versions, okay, in some of the older versions, you see this run with. Okay, you see this run with. So with the latest version of Spring Boot, this is completely removed. Okay, if you go to some tutorials and all, you see some at run with. Okay, it run with spring test and all. So with the latest version of Spring Boot 2.2, that run with got deleted. It's a pure Spring Boot test. Some older versions, you see different annotations. So there is a lot of confusion with respect to this unit testing with versions. Very careful with versions. Okay, so older versions you see at run with. I will show here. It run with, yeah, so here it run with Spring Runner, right? So this is associated with JUnit 4. If it is JUnit 4, then your class must be having it run with Spring Runner class, but it's a older version. Okay, it's a older version. So from Spring Boot 2.2, so we will not have this annotation. So when you go through some couple of tutorials and all, don't get confused. So that is the older version, right? Whatever you are seeing it run with Spring Runner, so that is the older version, JUnit 4. So with the latest version of JUnit 5, so if you are using JUnit 5, there is no need to add equivalent with all these things, right? So it is just a simple Spring Boot test, right? It's simple Spring Boot test. So we don't need it run with any other annotations are not required. Okay, some people will do some other too much magic. What they will do, they will use it run with Mockito. Okay, it run with Mockito they will do. It's a very bad practice, because in documentation none of the places they will say it run with Mockito. So when you do that, what is the problem? See, there is no it run with Mockito in the documentation. So but Mockito has that feature, it run with Mockito, right? Let me show you that exact annotation. So don't do that with for Spring Boot applications. Okay, don't do that. Yeah, Mockito JUnit runner class. Some people will do this. Okay, so they will start they will run our JUnits by using Mockito JUnit runner. This is a third-party library. Anyway, Spring also third-party library only, but this is like third-party to third-party, right? So let's not do that. Okay. So in sometimes you see that sometimes some people will write the code like this: let run with Mockito JUnit runner, let run with some other JUnit 4 class runner. Okay. Don't do that, anything like that. Okay. So latest version of Spring Boot, if you are able to use JUnit 5, so you can directly use at Spring Boot test, and if it is a unit testing, so you should say what particular class and what particular method we are going to test. Okay, so that's how we should write the unit test cases. So I know it is little difficult. You should do some practice, right? What is Mockito? If you go for any interview, they will for sure ask, how you do the unit testing. So if it is a unit testing, then you should say you used Mockito plus JUnit 5 plus Spring Boot, right? Spring Boot. So which is the latest, and this is what is going to be there in the will be there for future also. Okay. So this is how we do write unit test case. We covered half part now, unit test cases. So the next part is integration test case. So when it is integration test case, what we will do, we will hit the method, controller method, like by passing the JSON request, we'll hit the method and we expect some JSON response and check whether the response has proper data or not. Look, integration means you don't go to any particular method. So you directly hit this get mapping, put mapping, post mapping. So you expect some JSON data, right? So you expect back some JSON data. So you verify whether the JSON has valid status code is 200 or not, whether the JSON has proper response or not. Like that, you do it. Okay. So that is what is integration testing. If you are sending JSON data and getting JSON data back, that is integration testing. If it is unit testing, you focus only on a particular method with the different scenarios. Okay, so these two are two different um, scenarios, guys. Let's not mix. Okay, don't get confused. So unit testing is you focus only on particular method and you pass Java object. You expect some Java response back based on the return type of that method. But anyway, if it is an integration testing, we will directly call this controller method. We will directly call this controller method, and you pass some JSON data. For example, if it is get all mobiles request, you pass some JSON data, and you expect some JSON data back, right? You expect some JSON data back. Okay, so that's how we do write the integration test cases. So it's almost like 2 hours completed, right? So let's take a break, 15 to 20 minutes. Then I will quickly show you how to write integration test cases. That won't be taking more than 30 minutes, 30 to 40 minutes. Then we can close this session. Okay. So first part is completed. How to write unit test cases is completed. Like I showed two examples, right? So like this, we need to write as many as possible. I will also show you how to do integration testing also. Integration testing. Okay. So both are valid with respect to microservices. You need to write unit test cases. You also need to write integration test cases. I will let you know why we need to write integration test cases, what is the benefit, and how to do, what are all the challenges will come. Okay, and I will show one two examples. Then we can close this JUnit testing. Okay. Yes. Um, so so how much time you need the break? 20 minutes.
Yeah, fine.
Yeah, 20 is fine.
Okay, so let's pause the recording. Integration test. Okay. So this is the most complicated part in the testing section. So unit testing is easy. Like we can test a particular method, right? So with respect to integration testing, actually why we use integration testing? So in microservices, there is a process called CI/CD, right? So continuous integration and continuous deployment. So we should write couple of test cases which will make our application health check. Like couple of scenarios, we will test it and we will check. Okay, at least some like the basic functionality should be working. Why we will do like that? Because we cannot ask every time